Hey y'all, and welcome to another edition of the Unscripted Huddle, brought to you by the National Football Alliance. The NFA's purpose is to honor, improve, and advance the sport of tackle football. If you're the parent, coach, or administrator of a youth or high school player, you're in the right place. We aim to deliver an authentic voice regarding performance, safety, and the medical truth to support you and your players. My name is John Reagan. With me is Joe Rafter. Let's kick it off.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Unscripted Huddle, brought to you by the National Football Alliance. My name's Joe Rafter, CEO and Chairman of the National Football Alliance, and I'm joined with my partner in crime here, John Reagan. Looking a little different today. You look pretty refreshed, John. Yeah,
I'm fired up, ready to go, back from vacation. First time in my entire adult life that I turned off my phone for a week. Spent a week with my kids out of the country, and we had a blast. But I am excited to be back. And, man, how lucky are we, Joe? We're going to be joined tonight by Louis Leblanc, head coach at Westminster Christian from Huntsville, Alabama. And one, a good old ball coach, and two, totally. a man's man. And so we are excited. So, Louis, welcome to the podcast. Glad you're here with us tonight.
Oh, man, this is a treat for sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, so here we are. We're going to jump right into first down. And I'm going to say, hey, tell us a little bit, obviously welcome, but tell us a little bit about your background, how you ended up in the world of football. Maybe it was from the start, maybe it wasn't. And then take us right up to where you are now with your football journey.
Oh, sure. So really, it all started, I guess, when I was in middle school, and my mom wouldn't let me play Little League football growing up. I was always a bigger guy, and she was worried I was going to have to play up with older kids. And so this football coach named Arthur Johnson came into the sixth grade room and said, spring training for seventh grade football is next week. Sign up. So I signed up, didn't ask anybody, just signed up. I immediately went to practice that next Monday after school. The carpool lady was looking for me. They didn't know where I was. And I had to get a ride home by the coach, and when I got home, my mom said, "Where were you?" And I told her I was in football, and she said, "You didn't ask." I said, "Because I was worried you'd say no." And so she said, "Well, you can't quit." And so here I am all these years later, I'm still doing it. And so Arthur Johnson, I called him AJ, he coached me through the 10th grade and became more than a coach, became like a dad to me. And something that I really needed, and I'm the single product of a single parent home, and I'm the only child. And so AJ just stepped in, and he's still in my life. I talked to him 2 days ago. I transferred to another school. He came to every game and watched, and then when I was in college, kept up with me, mentored me. I thought I was going to go to med school. That was really the plan. And 2 weeks before I graduated, I called my mom with tears in my eyes and said, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to coach and teach. She said she's known that for about 2 years. And I said, why didn't you say anything? And she said, you got to be your own man. You got to make your own decisions. And so I said, Mom, I just want to do what AJ did for me. So I got into grad school. When I got out of grad school, I went right to work at American Christian Academy in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Was there for 7 years. Had a great run there as a defensive coordinator, linebacker coach, and then got an amazing opportunity to go to Alabama to be a GA for 3 seasons, and that was 2005 to 2007. And then in 2008, I went to West Georgia. In 2013, I came here, and so I just completed my 26th year of coaching. Been here for 12 years, 9 as the head coach, and I don't regret it. Sometimes when bills are due, I wish I had that doctor money, but being a coach has been amazing and impacting lives. AJ became a minister and actually married my wife, and he did the ceremony.
Wow.
And
wow.
And it's just been an amazing thing. I see how God has kind of ordered my steps through the game of football, use it as a platform to change my life and then to help me change the lives of others. It's been a wonderful ride so far.
John, I don't know if I told you this, but I had the opportunity to hear Louis talk at the AFCA. Mm-hmm. Right, that's how we met. That's how we ended up inviting Louis on the show. And Louis, you and I have had this conversation a little bit after the AFCA and once or twice since. John, strap yourself in. The work that Louis is doing his views, the perspective. I'm not kidding you. Like, I got chills when I was watching him talk at the AFCA. We'll get into that a little bit. And I'm not the kind of guy to blow smoke, Louis. I'm really, really impressed with the work that you're doing. So I want to go back to that AFCA. So tell me a little bit about why did we met there, John? That was my first one this year. Tell us why are you a member of the AFCA? Like, why did you join that?
So my first AFCA was actually Anaheim, Dallas. We had just beaten Texas Tech in the Cotton Bowl, and the AFCA convention was, later that month. And
at the Omni Anatole.
There you go. And so the people at Alabama went to the grad assistants and said, "Here's your plane tickets. Here's a rental car. Here's your hotel rooms. Wear all your Alabama gear and go shake hands." And so we did. I thought it was great, man. Everything was paid for, and I'd never been ever, and I was blown away. And I remember thinking, what an honor it would be to speak at this event. And 19 years later, I got to speak, and so I kept a membership up for a while, even while I was at West Georgia, and then when I got back into high school, I let it lapse, and just different budget and. I didn't know if we were going to be able to go as a staff, to Dallas or some of these faraway places, and so I intermittently would pick it back up. And then this year, I was asked to speak, and renewed my membership, and so thankful, golly, for the opportunity to do it. And then when they said, we need somebody to speak on a non-X and O topic, I was rejoicing on that, because I think we get a lot of X's and O's, but we don't talk about, I think, a lot of the things that matter and why we do what we do.
Right on, Louis.
That's awesome. And I think you're right. I mean, Joe and I've had this conversation independently and even on the podcast, that there was a time where coaches were trained to coach. And you were right in probably the tail end, in all honesty, of GAing in a way where you learned how to coach. It was not just about doing a job or creating some kind of outcome. It was about, hey, you need to learn how to teach. You need to learn how to
That's right.
Communicate with young men. You need to learn how to learn the process of coaching. And so amen to the fact that you were able to and look forward to speaking on something other than the X's and O's, because you hear so much, especially at the NFL level, which everybody sees, right? And how, this is the brilliant coordinator and he gets a head coaching job, and he doesn't know how to coach.
That's
right.
I
mean, he knows how to call plays, but he doesn't know how to coach. And that's not a knock; it's just a fact. I mean, the coaches at that level are saying the same thing. Why aren't players developing? Because we're not teaching coaches how to develop players.
That's right.
So moving into second down, good. We got a good couple yards there on the first down.
It's second and short.
Second and short. So, Louis, a little bit about the X's and O's here, right? From your perspective, what makes a good to a great high school football player? Like, what are the kinds of characteristics and things you look for, and you try and teach your players to be as a high school football player?
And I'm going to throw this caveat in there too, Louis. Not about what makes him a good player that moves on to the next level. What makes him a good high school football player?
Yeah.
I think without a doubt, do you have the ability to take correction? How do they view mistakes? So if I have a guy that mistakes paralyze him and that ball snaps and he doesn't move, that's a problem. I can't even tell him what to do right. So we got to overcome that fear. And then the guys that do pull the trigger and they make a mistake and they let that mistake shut them down for the rest of the practice or God forbid, the rest of the game. So I spent a lot of time just talking about courage and how do we have the courage to do hard things, to overcome mistakes, to risk it all and maybe make a mistake. And how do we learn from those mistakes? But I feel like more than ever, the high school kids that I see they're so consumed with I have to get it right on the first time. And if I don't, then coach, I've let coach down. Coach can't trust me. My teammates are upset with me. So for me, it's that mindset. Obviously, I want everybody to have great ability, tools for me to use that I can call plays and defenses and we can win games. But if they'll come in with a great mind of, yes, sir, coach, I'll do it better, coach. And that desire to get those reps, standing in the back of the line, watching other guys get coached, listening, and then when they get up there, they can do it without making mistakes that could have been prevented. I think you got the makings of a great high school football player that's going to learn, see it, apply it, become a better IQ guy, and make plays that maybe he couldn't have made without that knowledge.
So maybe taking that even a step further, the key is focusing. It sounds like, I'm going to put it in my words, obviously, but a great player is a guy that can focus on the process and the process of learning, not on the outcome necessarily.
Right.
How do you do that, though, with high school kids, that everything they do, okay, this is now me bringing my life and my own kids into it. Everything they see is instant gratification. Everything they see is outcome related. Success is about money, fame, likes, views, all of those things. But yet you're playing a game that is, I'm on a soapbox, I guess. You're playing a game that is very unselfish. How do you do that? How do you bring them to that point where they can hear those things and take it in and go, okay, you know what? It doesn't have to be about the fame or the likes or the glory. It can be about just doing it as well as I can do it.
Sure.
Because it's not instant gratification anymore.
So we have to hit it day one and really year round. So one of the best pieces of advice I got as a leader was leaders are repeaters. And I used to think, well, I talked about this issue last week, so I'm moving on to another issue, and they've already got that one. I'm going to go on to the next thing. And I got corrected on that. And leaders are repeaters, so I repeat what I want them to know and do and be about multiple times. And then I was told when they are finally talking the way I am, then I can say that I've said it enough to get the point across, but I got to keep going to keep the point driven home. So we start from day one. We talk about we had a mental skills coach named Roger Kitchen come in and help us over several years, and I still talk to him, and he gave us an acronym for WIN, which is what's important now. And so for us, what's important now is the moment. Okay, our strength coach started something called Day by Day that the guys say in the weight room, and I said, Coach, I think we're going to have to boil it down to moment by moment, and so what's important now, the moment. So let's win the moment is what we say, and we've got that on a couple of our shirts, and trying to keep that up in front of them. So again, what's the moment? For me, it might be like right now. I'm locked into you guys. I'm listening to what you're saying. Maybe it's a meeting for them. Maybe it's a classroom setting for them with their math teacher. Or I'm in the huddle, and I got to listen to the quarterback. That's one moment. Then I got to turn around and go to the line. I got to look at my key. I got to listen for the snap count. I'm going moment by moment. And any one of those moments, I could lose focus, and I jump off sides. Or if I'm on defense, I read the wrong key, or I get paralyzed by emotion. And so just trying to keep them locked into the importance of the moment. And there are thousands upon thousands of moments, right, in a game. And if we can add up all those moments, man, we're going to be moving in the right direction. So when a kid gets ahead of himself, we bring him in and we try to boil it down to what moment did he lose it? When did he start to focus on something else? And not just in football, but I mean in life. He made a mistake, and maybe the moment was he disobeyed his mom, and that got him grounded, or he cheated on a test. That was a moment in time he didn't win. And but here we are. What's important now? The next moment. So what are you going to do? So we try to use that language with them over and over again to drive the importance of it. That it's not just a before practice or a 30-minute session during the week where we have this talk. Like me and the assistant coaches have to incorporate it throughout the entire practice. Everything we deal with these young men on has got to be, what are you doing that you said you were going to accomplish, and did you focus on doing it? And I believe if they can do that, it just creates an automatic drive for them where they do it in every situation, hopefully, of their lives. And that's what we're pushing for. And then that lets me say, man, this is what we're telling you to do is so much bigger than a Friday night, because you may be the starter, you may be a backup, but if you learn what we're telling you to do in the process of it, it's going to benefit you whether you're the backup holder or the ace quarterback. It's going to help you because it's going to help you in every area of your life. So maybe it's a job interview, or you're sitting with the number one client of your firm and you're giving them your full attention and you're in the moment. You don't get distracted. And so that's something that we try to just hammer down and harp on and show them how important it is. So I take football time to do that. I don't say, tell your mom and dad you're going to be here another 45 minutes on Tuesday because we got to talk. To me, that sends a message that this is an extra thing. No, I'm taking my football time, and we're going to devote it to what I think is important.
That's amazing. And obviously it takes a full culture and parent buy-in and administrative buy-in for that to be the case. Because a lot of people will question, you only practiced 45 minutes today and you get a game tomorrow. Why? Well, I had to take 45 minutes to make sure I was dealing in the moment and those kinds of things.
Well, and so, again, like we start lifting Monday and then we start summer practices. I don't know what they can do in other states, but here we can have them in helmets. And so we'll start on June 16th, but starting June 2nd, when these guys are around me, they're going to be getting this. They just got it from me in spring, giving them a week off this week, and then we're going to go right back to it. So hopefully in the summer, we're spending a lot of time on this, so maybe we don't have to cut a practice in half in the season. But if we need to, we will. And what I found out is having this kind of a focus causes these guys to come to practice more focused, able to learn more, and do more and make adjustments, because we're not blessed with SEC athletes here. I wish we were, but we've beaten some really good teams, and we've done it with great adjustments because I believe guys were locked in, coaches were connected, made the adjustments, and they could execute.
And as you said, leadership is repetitive, and that's what you're doing. So,
yes, sir.
And be careful what you wish for, because you may not want too many of those SEC athletes.
Oh, man, I know.
You never know how that goes.
That's right.
So,
John, I Louis, we've as I sit here and I listen to you again, I mean, I love my coaches, the coaches I played for, I loved, and I just get inspired. If I were a football player, if I were a high school kid listening to you and having an opportunity to play for you, I'm just so impressed, because you got the X's and O's, but you also you're shaping men beyond the field. Your win the moment story brings me to when I was out in California. One of my assistant coaches was the chief public information officer for San Quentin Prison. Mm. And so we would make invitations to our parents to do a tour of the prison if they wanted to. And so we would do one or two tours a season, and I went on it once. And you get to meet, guys are in prison, and they're it's part of the rehabilitation process that they have there, which is pretty unique at San Quentin. And I listened to a man roughly our age talk about the only difference between him and me, us sitting in, the non-prisoners, was 10 seconds in his life. Mm. When he made a wrong choice.
That's right.
10 seconds, right? And that your win the moment brings me to that. Like, as you were telling that story, I thought to myself, man, if more boys, your boys are so blessed to be learning that lesson, because we can all say, yeah, it translates and it makes sense later in life, and intuitively you get it. But when I connect that to my life experience of hearing that senior man like our age say that, I think to myself, I wish he could have learned that lesson a little bit sooner.
Oh, right. Man. That's right.
That's because it's heartbreaking. It's also encouraging at the same time, right? I mean,
it's we've all made mistakes.
Right.
Everybody's made mistakes.
A couple.
And you just think, man, if I could just have those 10 seconds back, and those 10 seconds, it could be a play, it could be a rep in practice, it could be a silly decision like, forgetting your number 2 pencil, or it could be a serious decision like getting in the car when you shouldn't be driving, or doing other things that have lifelong effects.
That's right.
And so we talk a lot about on the show that that football builds men. Football gives you life lessons that while you may leave the sport never leaves you. Mm. And I wanted to try and make that connection with what you were describing and some of other experiences.
And I will say this: I mean, the impact that coaches have it's amazing. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I've since I got out of coaching, I've been able to work with the foundation, the Big Man Foundation, and our CEO on his signature has the quote from Billy Graham, who great Christian, right, and but great lover of college athletics, of athletics in general. And it's the quote: "A good man will, or a good coach will impact more people in 1 year than the average person will in a lifetime." And I think that if we all as coaches take that to heart and coach that way, knowing that what we're doing for these young men is going to affect and impact their lives. And that's what you're doing, which is great. And so with that, Joe, I'm going to say, hey, take us into third down here. You and I are both off tonight. We want to talk football. We want to talk everything about what we love about football and about coaching and about great coaches.
So staying in this a little bit, Louis, when I heard you speak at the AFCA, you mentioned the book, The Treasure of a Man.
Yeah, True Measure of a Man. Yes, yep. Sir.
True Measure of a Man. Yeah. So, True Measure of a Man. Tell us a little bit about how you integrate that book and that book's content into the culture of your program.
So I was given that by a man named Chris Yeager, the head coach at my alma mater at Mountain Brook High School. And Chris is a great man, unbelievable man. And so I go see him every year after the season and just sit down, and I just want to listen to him, hear what he's doing with his team. And oftentimes he gives me a book, and I bring him a book. And he gave me True Measure of a Man. The author is Richard E. Simmons out of Birmingham, Alabama. He runs he does leadership and then counseling for men, and has a really amazing organization. And I go through this book, and it's very thin, and it just, I couldn't put it down. I took dozens and dozens of pages of notes on it, and I bought it from my coaches, and said, man, guys, we've gone through books before, but man, we're gonna hit this one hard. And he started talking about the things that the men he counsels, what do they struggle with? And I said, well, if this guy's dealing with it with men that are probably in their 50s and 60s, 40s, I got a whole bunch of future 60-year-olds in my locker room. So let's talk about it now.
Let's hope, right? Let's hope.
That's right. So I said, let's talk about it now. So I sent out a survey. I love doing like a Google form and sending a survey to the kids. I found that they like to type more than they like to talk. And so with 60 plus guys, I can get a lot of information really quick. And this time I told them to put their name on it. And I asked them some pretty tough questions about mental health, things they struggle with, and the answers blew me away at how open they were. I felt like I had the most precious thing that my guys could have given me, because they opened a window into what they struggle with. And then I said, what am I going to do with this? And so I organized it, and I gave it to the coaches, and we went over it. And then have another man in my life that just pours into me, pours into our program. One of his son, youngest son, is actually on the team. But this man, Ralph Connect, he said, you got to share this with the parents. So I sent it out, and I took all the names out of it, and I shared just kind of in summary with the parents. And because I believe our school is all about partnering with parents to educate and disciple kids. So I'm going to partner with you. You're going to get a lot of emails from me about what I say to your son, because I want you to echo it at home. And I want to get some feedback, and I want to hear what I can echo in the locker room that you're saying at home. But I shared this with the parents, and I said, hey, we're going to do a parent meeting, and it's not mandatory. We'd love to have you there. We're going to talk about this and how we can impact these kids. So almost every parent showed up. The room was full, and it was amazing. We went through, I talked about things in the book, and then I had a big PowerPoint. I'm a PowerPoint guy. I love PowerPoints. And went through that. And then afterwards, I was there another hour talking to parents. Just they were telling me stories. Mom and Dad's crying. I'm crying. Just listening to these people's lives unfold and what football is doing and what our program is doing for them. And then the conversations in the weeks after that just kept reaffirming, we have got to hit this harder. So what I mentioned in the conference talk was I asked the coaches my assistant coaches to pick a topic of one of the things that men struggle with that Simmons highlighted in the book and that I had put on the survey. And it was things like depression, anxiety, identity, discontent, and things like that. And so these men, they prayed about it, and they all picked a topic, and by God's grace, they all picked a different topic to want to talk about. And so I said, guys,
that is God's grace.
It was amazing.
That is, man.
There was no arguing. There was nothing. I said, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're never going to become an expert in something like depression, but I want you to become, a sage for these guys, and we're going to split them up into groups, and over the summer we're going to meet once a week, and you're going to get 30 to 45 minutes with your boys, and you're going to do the same talk for however many groups we have that we rotate through every week. So each week the boys saw a different coach, and the coaches got to see different groups. I begged them to be transparent with the boys about what's going on in their life, struggles they overcame, moments that they made poor decisions and good decisions, and how God was working in their life in respect to the topic. And then encourage them to ask questions and get more feedback. I didn't want it to be a lecture. I wanted it to be something where we're having a conversation. And then I took myself out of it. I said, I want these guys to feel comfortable, and I want them to talk, and I want them to connect with their position coaches because there's too many of them for me to connect with all individually. And so the talks we had were amazing, and I loved hearing the coaches come back and tell me about little stories they shared with me from those meetings, and then I was able to globally talk about things every week with the guys. And then we did a big retreat at the end of the summer. We took the guys down to Lake Guntersville, and we slept on beds that were as hard as this desk that I'm got a computer on right now, and we practiced in a field with bahia grass that was this tall, and it was awful, but it was awesome because we were together. We took up their phones. I brought in a speaker. I told the team my story, and then I had players lead morning devotions. We had a great time. We swam in the lake. They played in the pool. We did a lot of team building things, but it just got away, and it was just us. And it wasn't a remember the Titans. We didn't go on a 3 a.m. run or anything like that. It wasn't supposed to be boot camp. It was supposed to be we're going to come out of this tighter than we were before. And so those are just like some of the global things I did. I'm real big on exit interviews at the end of the season. I want to sit down with every kid. Again, I give them questions on a Google form. I get those questions and I organize them into a sheet that I hand them that has all their answers, has feedback from their coaches, and then it has feedback from the weight room, and then I have all their testing from like the last, like the previous year, the current year, and it and then it tells them like, hey, you grew 2 inches, you gained 20 pounds, your max went up in all these areas, your times went down or up, and give them something to focus on. But I really want to hear their heart. And so again, I am trying to make sure they understand that who they are as a person matters to me more than who they are as a player. And now I got to take care of the player. That's why they signed up. But
sure.
They got to know that I love them as a person. And
Joe, I don't know. Joe, how familiar with the book? Have you?
I'm not.
Okay.
No, it's on my list.
So I was introduced to it because there was actually I won't say review, but maybe it was a acknowledgement written by Bill McCartney, who was an old head coach at Colorado. He was founder of Promise Keepers.
That's right.
Great, unbelievable organization. I mean, this is going back, and I'm aging myself again, even though I don't have nearly as much gray as either one of you guys. But I was introduced to it that way, and ultimately it was about it wasn't about the negativity, but it was spotlighting the struggle that men have with identifying themselves with their outcome and with their performance and with what they're doing and who they are versus who they're doing it for and why they may be doing it, right?
Right.
It's all about focus, right? And so I was introduced to from that standpoint, and just an amazing – I was so glad when I saw that Louis was going to be on here and that he had talked about that. I'm like, oh, I got to get that for my son because he wants to coach football as well. And like it can be, as you know, Louis and Joe, you've been around it. The profession can be so consuming with who you are. So it's a great reminder of how important it is to focus on the things that really we should be focusing on as servant leaders. So
that's right.
It's pretty neat. It's worth a read.
And what better sport to do it in than football, where I'm out there. I'm either going to knock that guy down or he's going to knock me down. And I knock him down, and now I puff myself up, and I feel good, and I define myself by that. Or I get knocked down, and I define myself. And so, again, that kind of goes back to me. It goes back to courage and how are we going to handle that. And then I, as a coach, have to take, like, lessons I learned from inside-out coaching with Joe Ehrman and say, am I going to take the guy that's always knocking everybody down and put him on a pedestal and say, man, this is the guy, and then all the other ones that get knocked down feel like, well, I'm obviously not the guy, and I never will be the guy. And so I have to be careful with that. I got to coach them all. I got to call them all out on their mistakes. I got to praise them when they do well, and then I got to make sure that I'm not gracing one of them with more love and appreciation because he scores a bunch of touchdowns and does things that made my play calling look better. It's something that that we as coaches have to control as well. That we don't just gravitate toward that alpha male, that
Right.
top dog we have.
It's easy on Friday night or Saturday afternoon, man. Right? When you're playing and the touchdown's scored or the pass is thrown or the run is made and the tackle is shaken or the goal line stand is made, that is what the focus goes to. And rightfully so. In the moment you make a play, you should be highlighted for that. But I say this constantly, and this is the offensive lineman in me. It took 5 guys to make a block for that pass to go, and that
That's right.
unselfishness, whether it's for an offensive lineman or anybody else, just that unselfishness to have the success that, hey, it's about the process, man. It ain't about it is about the outcome, yes, because that's what society's going to look at, but that's not what we're not going to hang our hat on that.
So what I've tried to do in those situations is when a guy makes a great play or we have a come from behind win or whatever it is, when I finally get the guys up, I love to go back in my mind and highlight, back to your San Quentin story, what were the moments leading up to this? What were some past, maybe failures that a kid learned from? And guys, remember when we had that awful day at practice and you came back the next day with a better focus? That's what led to this score, this win, whatever it is. And then privately, when there's a failure, I'll bring them in and say, remember when you were late last week? Remember when you didn't know what to do in practice? And show them where those moments led to failure. So I try to publicly show them where we had some moments that led to a great victory, and then privately have those conversations where I'm not embarrassing a kid and beating him up with the truth, but we're hopefully using the truth in a private setting to say, this is where you lost it. This is where things went off the rails. And at that point, his heart's filleted wide open because he knows it, and he's ready to listen. And it's so much, as you know, it's so much easier to teach someone when they are ready to listen. And so failure's our best teacher. And that's why, we harp on it, man. We need to love failure. I heard a story about Tom Brady, just real quick. It's one of the many.
I know where you're going. This is great. I love this story.
Well, it's one of the many, quarterback coaches that he was going to get or whatever. And some reporter asked him, "What kind of quarterback coach do you want?" And he said, "I don't need anybody who's going to tell me what I'm doing right. I know that. I need someone who's going to tell me what I'm doing wrong." And so I share that story with our players. Like that's the maturity we need. And it's not an indictment. It's not I'm kicking you off the team. It's I'm telling you what you did wrong, and we need to have that heartbeat to say, man, thanks, coach. Now I know what to get better at. And I'll tell you, I wasn't there in coaching. I didn't like being told that I did something wrong, and I needed to get to that point. And I had the great pleasure of working for some great men. But like I think back to, I was a GA under Joe Kynes when he was a defensive coordinator at Alabama, and then I was a GA when Coach Saban was the head coach. And those guys, man, golly, if you didn't do it right, it didn't matter what the outcome was. We're going to go back and talk about why it was not done right. And so that just ingrained in me that is obviously the way to do it.
John, I could listen to Coach for a long time.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yep, piece of cake, right? Fourth down, Louis.
Already?
I know. So right. Fast. So your email signature, because we've shared some emails, says using football to build better men.
Yes,
Love
sir.
that quote. So you've been a head coach for 9 years. You've been around football 26 years. I think I heard you say.
Yes, sir.
You've had guys graduate, go on, and come back. Say hi, as older men. Tell us about maybe one of your favorite conversations when a young man's come back.
Well, man, there's so many. I got a Facebook message from a young man from early in my coaching career. And he was the kid this was my first year as a teacher in 1998. And he was the kid that as a new teacher at this school, the older teacher said, what classes are you teaching? When I told them, they said, oh, you're going to have this young man. And please just don't judge the school based off of him. Just get through this year. He'll be someone else's problem the next year. And then, judge the school off of that. Don't leave us because of that guy. And so immediately I was like, well, he's my guy. I mean, I got to connect with that guy. That's
Here's
why
the challenge.
Anybody can teach the kid that just could show up and make A's. But what about this guy?
Right.
So I did it, and it was hard. I had to pick my battles. Anyway. Long story. We worked on him. And then last year, I get a Facebook message from him that says, Coach, I want you to know everything you said back then. And he named a couple other coaches that were with us. I was listening. I now teach those things to my son. I wish I lived in Huntsville so my son could play for you. I want to know that. I want you to know if you ever need anything, just call me. And I'm even telling coworkers that are going through hard times what you guys shared with me. He goes, so I just want you to know I was listening. And so that was amazing. Another great story was one year here I was the interim wrestling coach, and I pull up for a game. We had a Friday that was out of school for some reason, and maybe it was a half day. And so I pull up to the field, early before the game, and I see the athletic director driving up on the golf cart to my car, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. And he goes, I love you. I said, yes, sir. He said, I need you to be the interim wrestling coach after football season. And so I go to the first
right now, really?
That's right. So I go to the first big wrestling match, it's called the Big Red Rumble or something like that, and at Huntsville High, and they have this massive arena, and I'm down there in the corner. I don't know what I'm doing. I wrestled 1 year in high school, and so I'm just taking it all in, and I feel like I'm about to watch the Karate Kid fight. There's all these things going on. I don't know what I'm doing, and I see this young man walking toward me. It's an older. I mean, he's not a student. He's an older man, but younger than me, and he's walking toward me. He's real determined, and I don't really recognize him at first, and then I recognize he was a walk-on defensive lineman at Alabama, and he shakes my hand, and during the course of the conversation, says, Coach, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. And I'm like, I said, for what? I mean, I was a GA. I was bottom of the totem pole guy. He said, when I was in Alabama, everybody treated the walk-ons like trash, except for you. You made us feel like people. You made us know that you cared. And the way you treated us, man, I'm telling you, there were many days I wanted to quit, but because of interactions with you, I stayed. And I told him, I said, brother, I was trying to stay alive. I was trying to get you to do what you needed to do so I didn't get yelled at. And he says, so I was trying to deflect there, but he said, no, man, I'm just telling you, I appreciate that. And so I just look back on, man, God's grace and providence of using me even when I didn't even know I was being used. And then, there's numerous stories of guys like that want to come back and coach. I love that. We have guys that come back, and I do a little youth football camp in the summer. Alumni want to come back and get out there and work with the little kids. I don't ask them. I love that. And so for me, having those guys around is just a beautiful picture of we are making those connections. What we've taught is hopefully enduring the test of time, and they're living it out. And so that's, I guess, in a nutshell, that's three different kind of occasions where that happens.
That's awesome. Joe, I don't know that I can throw a flag, but can I go into overtime real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
You say that, and you talk about the mentality and share a story that nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? That's the old adage with coaches, and I think it's a Lou Holtz attributed, whether it's right or wrong. But if you were going to say something to our listeners and those listeners that are parents whose kids are young, they're trying to make the decision take the technology out of it, take the safety out of it. Why should a young man or a young woman decide to play football?
Every time that I hear a player tell me or a student tell me that my parents want me to play because they're worried I'll get hurt, I don't know how to do this, so I've never done it. But I want to talk to the parent and just say, do you realize what you're doing to a young man when you say, this is something that other kids can do and we can cheer on and spend money on and watch and champion, but it's not for you. You're not tough enough. You're not strong enough. I don't think you could handle that. And what that does emotionally, physically, mentally to a young man when his dad or his mom or both say that. I believe, it's back to courage, I believe young men need to do hard things. Maybe that hard thing is math class, Maybe it's football. I don't know what it is, and I'm not saying every kid should play football. I'm not saying that. But to tell a kid that I don't want you to do this because I'm worried you'll get hurt. We're not talking about base jumping off the skyscrapers of New York here without a parachute. We're talking about playing football that millions of kids are playing. We're not talking about being stupid. We're talking about doing something under the supervision of quasi-professionals here that are dedicating their life to helping you do it and learn something for it. So for me as a coach, I've got to show parents like that the reward is worth the risk. And I take it personal, I guess, when they don't give me a chance to show that it's not about the wins and the region championships and prayerfully a state championship. It's not about that. It's about these conversations and the conversations that happen 20 years from now. That's what it's about to me. And so it kills me to see a parent tell a young boy, no, let him climb that tree. Let him go down the hill, not hold on to his handlebars on his bike. I mean, let's get after it, and we'll pick up the pieces and we'll move on. But I just hate it. I hate it to see, especially the older they get. And I just wonder, what does that do to his heart? I don't think it needs to happen, in my opinion.
For me, John, so yes to everything that Louis just shared. And for me, if I pull back a second, as a parent, I think if I were to say that, I'm teaching my kid to live in fear.
That's right.
I'm allowing my fear of something that I have some level of relationship with the sport of football. I may know nothing about it, or I may be a former football player. But what I'm saying is, when you perceive fear and risk, you should pull back. And I think that's a dangerous, it's a slippery slope, it's a thin line. Pick your favorite phraseology there. It's a very dangerous thing to say to your child. And the chances are, if you're saying it there, you're probably saying it elsewhere in that child's life.
There is no doubt.
And so you're raising a child, you're parenting them, you're teaching them that the world is a scary place, you should be afraid, and you should retreat and only do things that have a lot of surety, that is perfect, and bubble wrap, all that kind of stuff. For me, that, particularly, Louis, I love how you say, I totally agree. Young men need to be challenged. They need to be taught and they need to learn how to overcome adversity.
That's right.
That is. We've said this before on the show. It's like one of the most important things in my world. Like, that's part of my mantra. Is I want to teach young men how to overcome adversity. And I say to my parents, my job as a football coach is to give your kid adversity.
Yes.
My job is to make your child's life a challenge on this football field, and the right amount of challenge. And guess what? Johnny's challenge versus Mikey's challenge are going to be different.
That's right.
Right? And as parents, my bet is that you're all doing everything you can to make your child's life as simple and easy as possible.
That's right.
And so
what's amazing, Joe, about that?
We serve as a counterbalance in that.
No doubt. And what's amazing is that the sport of football itself, it's almost a Darwinistic sport, right? I mean, it's not for everybody at all levels.
It's not.
It's not for everybody all the way through through youth football. It's not for everybody all the way through high school football. It's not through everybody into tackle football necessarily. And certainly the levels get more elite as you go. But the opportunity should be there for all of those reasons, because our society needs it. Our kids need it. And it's awesome that we have people like Louis out there that's working with that transition from a middle school to a high school. And, you know, what is a better story? What is a better, honestly, almost a testimony of what the sport can do than a young man coming back and saying the lessons you taught me, I'm teaching my kids,
My son,
my personals, my kids. So awesome, Louis. I gotta go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just if we look at societally what we've done, we have done the opposite with young ladies. We've told our girls, go after it, go do it, get in math, get in science, go be a CEO, and they're
earn your way, prove it. Yeah.
Right. We've switched it, and we're telling boys now what we used to tell girls. No, don't do that.
Yes.
You may get hurt. Let someone else do that. You're not strong enough. You're not smart enough. Math and science are not for you. We're now doing that to boys, and people are okay with it. And I noticed it, and when I taught AP biology, I noticed like the number of girls taking the class was going up. The number of boys taking class was going down. And I would ask these academically capable boys that should be in it or could be in it, it's hard. It's hard. I can go take this, and now there's no risk of me having a bad grade on my GPA. So I'm just not going to do it. And I'm thinking, and most of those guys didn't play football. And I said, this started a long time ago with, oh, you don't need to do that. That's a challenge. Let's go do this. This will be easier. And
because the outcome is more important than the process.
That's right. So I don't want kids making decisions based off of what you said, Joe, off of fear. Fear should never be my deciding factor. And fear may raise some alarms, and I can get more information, but I'm not just going to say I'm scared to do that, I'm out. And I don't like it.
It's okay to be fearful.
Correct.
It's okay to visit.
It's natural.
Okay
you need it, right? We need it for survival.
That's right.
Absolutely. It's ingrained in our DNA biologically for thousands of years. There's nothing we can do to not be fearful. It's when you allow the fear to drive and overcome your decision making without some balance, without some inquiry. Coach, tell me about your program.
That's right.
Coach, what are you doing? Coach, how many concussions did you have last year?
Right.
Coach, what do you do for player health and safety? Coach, what happens to Johnny when Johnny's struggling on the field? How do you address that?
That's right.
Parents need to engage their football coaches at the youth and the high school and even at the college level.
Amen.
To make sure that men are taking care of other men through the sport of football and looking after them beyond, just like you do, Coach, beyond the game.
Yes.
Beyond the X's and O's to the character, because like we said earlier, they will leave the game. This is a game that leaves everybody at some point, but the game never leaves them, right?
Right.
So I'm going to take that moment, Joe, and wrap us here and say that fear, honestly, we all have to not necessarily overcome it. We have to accept it. We got to move forward. But that's what we're trying to do on this podcast, honestly, is give you reasonable stories, give you reasonable outcomes, educate you as parents, educate you as players so that the fear is not unreasonable. It's just real, and you work through it. Because our goal with the National Football Alliance is to honor, improve, and advance the game of tackle football, and to hope that we can do it in a way that we are creating better people in our society. So,
Amen.
Louis, again, thank you for joining us here. And we will look forward to seeing as you watch it, because I'm not rewatching it, but seeing and having you listen to our future podcast. And thanks again, Louis, for joining us.
Man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. This is always a joy to do things like this, but with you two men especially, this was great.
Louis, it's been a pleasure. All the best.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's it for this week. Let's keep the conversation going to help NFA honor, advance, and improve the game of football. Thanks for listening, and join us next time for another set of downs on the Unscripted Huddle.